Monday, October 31st. It's Halloween, and superhero stuff you should know covers The Batman once again. This is Ben Man, and with me, as usual, is...
Drew Bat, everybody. I'm here, and hopefully we punch that garlic face in the head.
Yes.
Whatever that mask was. I guess it was a shriveled up pumpkin or something.
It's a Drophead.
Drophead, yeah.
Yeah, because of the drugs of the drops.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
You would think that would tip off the liquor store owner that guy was up to no good, but I don't know. Anyway,
that guy's not in the know, man. He doesn't know about the Dropheads, what the kids are doing these days.
I guess so. This is one of the rare times where we get to release an episode on Halloween Day.
Woo!
And yeah, since you guys seem to like it whenever we cover Batman concept art, and the Batman is set during Halloween, we thought there'd be nothing more appropriate than to cover the unused concept art for the Batman, as well as get to talk about the movie a few months after the initial release. We're a few months removed from the honeymoon period, and we've had some more time to digest it, so we can talk a little bit more about other aspects that we might not have talked about beforehand. Now that we've had it on HBO Max or available on Blu-ray and stuff, and been able to rewatch certain things. So a lot of what we covered, or what we're about to cover, is in the art of the Batman book. But not everything. Some of it has been posted by the concept artist online. And while a lot of it seems to have made it into the final film, not all of it did. So we're going to dive into it. So here we go. We might as well just start off with a bang with the Riddler.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty close. Pretty close to what we got. This is designed by Glenn Dillon, who reportedly won an award for concept art for one of the concepts that I'm going to show later on. Not for this one specifically, but... this is the Riddler, obviously very close to what we got here. For the RO listeners, we're looking at the same type of mask. The glasses, the jacket's different, though. And we can see there's like a collar for the one on the right. And then you've noticed the question mark symbol is different on the right. It's got like a black question mark over like a white target type of thing, as opposed to the one we got in the movie, which is close to what we got on the left over here. So...
I mean, it makes sense that he'd have a question mark somewhere. I mean, come on.
He has to. Yeah, like, come on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they kind of took the idea of like, well, the Riddler's a guy in a green suit with a mask and question marks on it. How do we switch that up? So, obviously, this is inspired by the Zodiac Killer and sort of retains the general elements to it. Now that Edward Nashton is known to be the Riddler, I am curious if we're going to see an evolution of this, or if he ever does come back. Is it going to be something similar, or is it going to be, more of a green business suit type of thing? We'll have to see, I guess.
Right.
When it comes to this. Outside of that, we got concept art of Gotham City from artist John McCoy. You'll notice that, like, unlike some of the 90s Batman stuff that we've covered, a lot of this stuff is pretty close to what we ended up getting on screen. And I think a big part of that is the fact that they used VR in order to render a lot of what we saw of Gotham City, so that they could literally like make what they put on the page and bring it to life on screen. So I think that's why like everything here, a lot of the stuff you're going to see is like it's very close to what we got in the movie, almost to not to ridiculousness, but to the point where you're just like, oh man, like there really wasn't a lot of change. But I think we have a technological advantage here that we didn't beforehand.
When you say it's a VR, what do you mean by that exactly?
They use virtual reality to sort of render, literally create the landscapes and stuff. So that one of the things that, I think they created, I think in 3D, and people who are in this field are going to know better than me. But I think they literally created a lot of this stuff in there, and then once they had it done, then they put it up on the screen. For the actors to react to in the environment. So they weren't really in a green screen type of thing.
Like to do with Mandalorian and all that.
Yeah, like in the volume, I think is what it's called, and stuff. So like they used that for this, which, helped with making sure that some stuff was on the down low in terms of what they were shooting, as well as like just help render exactly what they had in mind up on the screen. I think it was Hitchcock had a quote about how he wishes that all you would have to do from the script is just like put it into some sort of machine and it would like spit out exactly the image that you had in your head when you wrote the script. But
we're gonna get to that point.
We'll get to that, but we're getting close to that with this. This is pretty close to that.
We're like, think about like the best graphics now. Mm-hmm. We're probably 25 years or so from people from like CG truly being indistinguishable from actual actors.
It's getting there, especially with deep fakes.
Yeah, with deep fakes, think about all that. So you'll be able to literally make a 100% real-looking movie in CG, essentially, because everybody thinks, oh, it's CG, it's shitty. Well, it's not gonna be shitty forever. It's computers, man. It's gonna fucking keep getting better and better and better.
Yeah, it's always gonna be an evolution.
We're gonna see some crazy fan films when that shit really hits a fan.
It's coming.
Yeah,
it's coming.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of kids in Halloween costumes, thanks to costume designer Jacqueline Duran. And we got this one of the Drifter. Pattinson's very not that recognizable in here, but you see more of his face as the Drifter in this concept art. This is very, it feels a bit Rebel Without a Cause-esque in a way. He's got ripped jeans. He's on his motorcycle, and you might notice up above him is Shreck's bar. Max Shreck? Somebody's got to call Daniel Waters. But yeah, I doubt that he had involvement. I think it's somebody's Easter egg into that. But according to the Art of the Batman book, which I have here and I read in preparation for this, the concept of the Drifter was not only inspired by Bruce's disguise from Batman Year One, but also inspired by the workwear of dock workers in Manhattan. So again, trying to pull from the real as well as the comic at the same time.
The dock workers in Manhattan, like modern day ones?
Potentially. It didn't really specify like what time period, but I would think from these days.
Okay, all right.
So kind of contributes to more of the stuff we talked about in the historical and cinematic influences of the Batman episode, which you guys should check out if you haven't seen that yet.
Indeed.
Here's the Drophead we talked about.
It looked like a garlic or something. I don't know why I think garlic.
Green garlic. It does kind of look garlicky in a way. So here's green garlic, and we have what looks like, this is from John McCoy.
Instead of green goblin, it's green garlic.
Green garlic. You can smell him a mile away.
Yeah, that's right. He's the worst ninja ever.
I could smell you. That's how I knew. Says Batman. So Batman naturally is able to spell the Drophead, and this is the Drophead encountering Batman, which is not what we got in the movie. The Drophead just sort of saw the darkness, assumed Batman was there, and ran off. But we have sort of this alternate scene. I don't know if this is in the script or, again, some of the stuff in concept art, they're just playing around with shit. So, like, I don't think that this is actually from the script at some point. Maybe, maybe not. We have the gang who attacks the bank and puts graffiti on it in more concept art here. And then we eventually get to some of the bat suit designs that I wanted to get to. So Reeves does state in the Art of the Batman book that one of the influences is Lee Bermejo on the bat suits. So
he's one of the most influential, right?
Yeah, it feels that way. One of the most influential on this, definitely more so than David Mazzucchelli on Year One, where he basically looks like he's in cloth. He's just in the Halloween costume version of the Batsuit, you would think. But this is like the armored look from it. He said he was specifically drawing from Batman Damned, which is another collaboration of Bermejo with Brian Azzarello. I ended up reading that recently just because it's somewhat Halloween themed. It's got some Justice League Dark characters in it, so you get to see Lee Bermejo doing Deadman, Swamp Thing, Constantine, Zatanna, and the Spectre.
How do they look?
They look pretty cool. Actually, Swamp Thing is it's like a giant Swamp Thing. Constantine's, there's only so much you could redesign with Constantine. He's just a dude on that. But the others look pretty cool.
He's smoking Virginia Slims in this one.
I think it is very clear that there's a visual influence on it. There might be some story influences on it. There's a sequence where the cops have found an unconscious Batman and they try to take his mask off and he fights them. So that made it into the movie. Bruce sort of dons a drifter type costume on the streets and stuff. And there's also a point where Batman walks into a nightclub type setting because Brian Azzarello reimagines Etrigan because Etrigan rhymes. So he's rapping in this nightclub in Batman Damned.
So it's not entirely just darkness. It's
not completely dark. I will say
there's some humor to it.
There's a little bit of it. It's more of just it's Azzarello. It's set in the same world as that Joker comic. So you can see how things got are like reimagined to be more gritty realism. So instead of like Etrigan the Demon in the standard version, now he's like a guy who like raps in the concert, and that connects to his rhymes and stuff. I think it's Zatanna who seems or comes across as like a street magician type, the one who like kind of does like the keep an eye on the card type of thing on the table, on the streets and stuff. So like everybody's reimagined to this really like gritty street type stuff. Personally, I'm just glad it was only mainly a visual influence on the Batman. I don't think the story itself I wasn't a big fan of, but
really okay.
It's cool seeing the Justice League dark characters with Batman, but I'm just kind of glad that the main influence was Bermejo more so than actual story elements and stuff.
Okay.
It's also known for being the comic where you get to see Bruce's dick.
Oh, that's the one.
In certain issues, it's no longer available in that on the DC Universe Infinite copy. It's not available.
Man.
No, you wanted to see it.
They should have like some sort of comic with him in Manhattan. Dr. Manhattan just swinging their dicks at each other.
Measuring.
Literal dick measuring contest. I don't know,
Manhattan's
man.
the one who doesn't care, though. He's just like the size of one penis does not relate to anything else in part of a man's personality.
What kind of preparation will he take to win this one, dude? He's gonna take some yohimbamine and some fucking horny goat weed.
Yeah, order some stuff from Sweden.
Some Sweden and some fucking that shit you get at the Wasp or whatever, the Hornet shit in the gas station. You
Wayne
see that?
Enterprises' latest product for men everywhere.
Some Tonkat Ali, if you will. Yeah.
But that's Batman Damned, everybody. Reeves does hint as well in the book that the suit is something, quote unquote, that could evolve over time. So I would expect us to get a different bat suit in the next movie if he's going to stay true to that.
They've evolved every single time. Why would you not think that? There's never.
I know.
Every single movie, basically, right? Every bat suit's evolved for better or worse.
The only the only time that it was the same exact suit was The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh,
they kept the same suit from Dark Knight to Dark Knight Rises. I think that's the only time that there was like no redesign whatsoever. There was nothing out of all the suits too that they decided to stick
I know. With. They keep the fucking sneaker.
Like, God damn it.
They knew they were going to have to re-ADR Bane's voice entirely also.
I'm sorry, the budget's going to Tom Hardy's ADR.
ADR's twice.
I'm just going to have to stick to the same suit.
God, I saw that shit in the Mission Impossible screening, man, and I was like, we walked out and we were like, you guys understood? No, like not a single person at our screening understood it. And then, anyway, we all know the story. Let's keep going.
So let's take a look at some of the Batsuit stuff, which stayed pretty true, I think, to what we ended up getting. However, there's one that set the internet, a few people commenting on the internet, which is the one on the right, which, due to the lighting, makes the Batsuit look blue and gray. I think this is just a lighting thing for the concept art, though. I don't think this is something they actually considered.
The thing is, I mean, whenever you make concept art, I mean, look, we have to ask Flattery. You have to get him back on here.
Yeah.
To really know this process in and out. But as far as I can tell, from my purview, it's not everything is going to be written in stone, and they're going to...
You're messing around.
Yeah, you're messing around, and like, Matt Reeves would be like, hey, give me 20. I need 20 designs. And then you narrow it down from there, and then you get different varieties. And so that'll help the director to visualize everything. So yeah, some of them might be blue, and that's maybe because the concept artist is a fan of the comics. And it was like, he's like he paints it blue, and he's like, eh? What do you think?
How are we gonna do it this time? Yeah.
How about this one? You know what I mean? So yeah, maybe that was what the concept artist was thinking, but who knows if that was what Matt Reeves really ever wanted? It'd be cool if he did, but you know, there's just the concept art. It's concept art, dude. You're trying to find your concept.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like the very professional version of Pinterest. You know. Right. Your picture board, you know what I mean? So
I need options to choose from. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure on this. I do like on this aspect the color of the blue. as well as like if you notice the chest insignia, the bat insignia actually has ears on this.
Yeah,
So
it is cool.
I do like those. So maybe that's what his suit is going to evolve into in the
I
future.
like it.
Who knows?
It would be
I like
really
it too.
sweet if they did that, man.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Dude, Alfred could literally say, "Blue blends in better with night." Because isn't that like actually true? Like
Yeah,
a
we'll have to pull
dark
up
blue.
we've heard scientifically that that's the case. I think we've discussed that possibility, but I need to look into the actual science, like the actual articles that say that.
So
To verify, but I'm sure
it sounds good.
That's a way to verify that.
Bring it in, and then Bruce is like, dark blue. You know what I mean? It'd be such a natural thing.
Yeah, and fits in with his evolution. You know, he's being more of a symbol of hope, and also, you know, if this is going to eventually end up with him and Robin fighting Joker, Penguin, Catwoman, and Riddler in a submarine, with him running around trying to stop a bomb and stuff like in '66, then it would be fun. But I don't think we're necessarily going to get that blatant of a '66 thing. But there's definitely a '66 influence on this.
Yeah, it doesn't need to go that way. Although it would be cool if there was a live action Bright Knight again, not to step on Adam West's legacy, but
Right.
to have more in that vein, at least. If the DC's got like 20 universes going on right now anyway.
Right. So
let's add 21. So
yeah, for sure. We got here some concept art of the bat signal. The behind the scenes speculation in the book, actually, from the people who did this is the idea that you might have noticed that the searchlight that's created for the bat signal has all those like those slits and stuff. That's part of the searchlight. The sort of origin they gave to it is that Gordon just kind of took a pair of snips and snipped away at those panels to create that bat shape out
That's
of
cool.
them, which is pretty cool. Yeah. So that's kind of the replacement of kind of sticking the the stencil of the bat on top of the searchlight. So I'm like, oh, that's pretty creative actually. I like that. So more from Jacqueline Duran of the different gang members that we saw in the beginning. And here's another interesting thing, similar to the Drophead confrontation, but we have the gang members in the train, but on top of the train is Batman. So we didn't get that. Again, could just be concept artists messing around. It's possible, speculation-wise, that in the movie, after he's done changing into the suit in the bathroom, after he's put on all the black eye makeup, he then goes up on top of the train. That's when he spots the gang members are targeting that one dude. So that's a possibility too.
Yeah.
And of course, we get the scene of the confrontation with the gang members through the rain. Again, a lot of this stuff looks pretty close to what we ended up getting in the movie, right down to some of the lighting, even, or the colors and stuff.
This is some of my favorite parts of the movie, man. This opening, 15 minutes or so. Yeah, the atmosphere. It's a big city. I can't be everywhere. I'm just
Fear is a tool.
I'm eating it up, dude. I'm eating it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. And it's kind of cool to see this concept art and see oh, they pretty much just did that. They stuck to it a lot closer than what we've seen in the past. And I think a lot of it is due to the VR stuff we talked about.
Yeah, that's cool.
This is different though. So this is, I think this is more because it's the costume design. This is more of the drifter on the motorcycle, as we'll see Bruce take off and drive back home to Nirvana's Something in the Way in the movie. And
hey, dude, that's cool with me.
Yeah. No,
I hope he has.
I'm not knocking it.
Alice in Chains. What if the first one's Nirvana, but then the next one he's got I'd like to be grunge, continue with the grunge, but maybe not Nirvana every time.
Something that ties in thematically with the movie each time, and sort of bookends it with his narration.
And you know what? Everybody knows I like metal and shit too, but I love grunge, and I would love there be a grunge renaissance. Let us know in the comments. You probably agree, I'm assuming. Yeah. It sucks that the good stuff died, man.
Yeah.
The good grunge died out.
But yeah, I'd love it to be playing as he's in, he's rescuing people who've been caught in the flood type stuff in the next one or something like that, depending on when this is set with the next one.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much you could do, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We have seen some concept art of the Batcave before, which we covered, I think, in the Unmade Batcaves and the Ranking the Batcaves episode. But this is another look at concept art for the Batcaves. What interests me here is, I guess, because of the fact that it's part from an abandoned terminal, you can kind of see, and Peanut here can see,
Peanut.
that there you can see kind of like the train station type thing over here with all the different windows and people overlooking that. So I think that's an interesting part that I don't think you can see in the movie. I think in the movie it's just like a staircase that leads up that indicates where it goes. But this would be an interesting thing to adapt, is like being able to see the Batcave from wherever that is over there.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That's cool. This is Glenn Dillon's design for Alfred, which is pretty much what we got in the movie with the cane. Is just I don't think Andy Serkis has facial hair in this concept art. So
right, they didn't know that. Maybe they didn't know that at that time, I guess.
Yeah. So we'll see. I think that's going to be something that stays in. I don't think his facial hair is going to change in the next one, but
right.
It's interesting to sort of see the evolution of this, because it's the first time in a while that we've gotten Alfred with facial hair, with the exception of the bearded Alfred in the Joker movie and stuff.
Right,
in
right.
a Batman specific movie, it has not happened since Alan Napier in the '66 movie.
Right.
We got John McCoy with images of the Iceberg Lounge. The Art of the Batman book brings up that the origin of the Iceberg Lounge was that it was originally a fish company that occupied the space beforehand. So I guess that kind of ties into Penguin a little bit. Penguins eat fish, that type of stuff.
Definitely.
They also played with the idea of a river flowing through the club, but I think they found that was going to be too expensive.
That's going to be so much more in the budget, man.
That said, considering how bogged down by water it is at the end due to the flood, maybe we'll see some form of that in the future. Maybe in the Penguin show.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with all that.
Yeah, because I think Colin Farrell has revealed that the Penguin show is going to take place pretty soon after the Batman. So they're still going to be dealing with the flood, and obviously there's going to be a lot of the Iceberg Lounge if the show's all about the Penguin for that. So that makes sense. Again, more of the nightclub fight given to us by John McCoy here. Very close, again, to what we saw in the movie. I mentioned before that Glenn Dillon got an award for the concept art. That was for the grappling gun that comes out through the wrist and stuff and into his hand. Cool. We don't have the concept art itself here, but we have photographs of the actual design and stuff once it was made. So that's pretty cool. I think, or maybe this is concept art and it just looks like a photograph. But
it's really well done.
It's just really well done, actually, because I can see the signature on the bottom. So maybe I'm wrong on that. So we were talking about the Penguin, and I thought it'd be interesting to reveal. This is not in the Art of the Batman book, but this was revealed by the costume designers online. That originally they were playing around with Colin Farrell being Colin Farrell in his actual look. We have a very thin Colin Farrell looking Penguin here. It's still Colin Farrell, but he's got the cigarette holder thing, and he's in a suit by the billiards table that's in Falcone's place. So this is really interesting that they were playing around with it. It seems like they're playing with the idea of he's a thinner Penguin who then might become more traditional later, kind of like in the Gotham TV show or Telltale. And it's interesting because there's been some criticism of the casting of Colin Farrell, of people bringing up that they could have just cast an actor who looked like that. But as we can see here, it's mainly because he wanted Colin Farrell. Reeves wanted Colin Farrell, and they were going to make it work, whatever it was going to be, whether it's going to be him being looking more like Colin Farrell or with prosthetics like what we got, because obviously they're playing around here with it just being Colin Farrell in this outfit with an umbrella, as we're seeing here. So that's part of it. The other thing is that I really can't imagine anything more boring than just an actual actor slap his tuxedo on him and just call him the Penguin. It's just.
What if it was Annie Devine?
You mean Richard Kind?
I mean Richard Kind. What am I saying? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Richard. First off, I don't think Richard Kind is going to pull off this Penguin. There's just no way. Second of all, again, it's just boring. Every live-action Penguin has had some form of prosthetic. Burgess Meredith did. Danny DeVito did. Even Robin Lord Taylor in Gotham, he had a prosthetic nose for that role. Even though it doesn't really look, it's not as exaggerated, but he still had prosthetic makeup. So I'm just with this character, you can't just throw Richard Kind or John Carroll Lynch, I think someone else proposed, in a tuxedo and just call it a day. I'm that's just super boring when it comes to this character specifically.
Yeah,
especially
I don't know.
After what we've seen.
Maybe they just didn't know. The concept designers don't know what's going on with the makeup with the prosthetic makeup. But then again, they got to have a concept design for the prosthetic makeup.
Oh yeah.
Also,
no, I'm not criticizing the concept art itself so much as I am the idea that people were proposing, which is
I
that,
understand.
instead of asking Colin Farrell, why couldn't you just get Richard Kind or John Carroll Lynch? Because I'm just like, well, that's boring as fuck. just have them in a tux and then just say the lines and that's it. So, but yeah, as we can see, it did eventually evolve into Colin Farrell looking more like the traditional Penguin that we got in the movie, which I think we're all glad about and stuff. So I think that works better than that because we already saw the whole like thin Penguin becomes the more traditional Penguin in the Gotham show. They did not need to repeat that for the movie and stuff. So I think this is what they did was fantastic with the makeup, and I don't think anyone disagrees.
Oh yeah.
So got more concept art of Batman talking to Penguin in the office while Selina comes in. Another angle here of that. All of these very well done, very much fitting in the atmosphere of what we got in the movie. Very close to what we got. Selina's apartment is very much modeled after Year One. They looked at David Mazzucchelli's art in that and sort of modeled a lot of that from there, which is pretty
red
cool.
light inside as well.
Yeah,
That's pretty
right
cool.
down to that. And then another look at the costume, Selina unmasked from Jacqueline Duran, as well as different looks with her in the mask. So we can see the jacket's a little different on that, as well as the mask. In one, there's no opening for the mouth. It's literally just the eye holes around the eyes. And then there's another one with a hole for each eye, and then another hole for the mouth, and that's it. It's not what we got in the movie and stuff.
Hopefully we have a full-on Catwoman costume in the next one.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been a while since we've had like a legit one. Anne Hathaway was cool, but
they were deliberately trying not to do the Catwoman thing.
Yeah, and like they're worried about tone and stuff, but for my money, like have them wear like a costume that's keeping with the same tone as whatever Pattinson's wearing, same tone as even the Batman. Realistic enough, I guess, but make it. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Just make it a little bit more comic booky.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just have a more comic accurate Catwoman. But at the same time, you can do that, and you can not change the realistic tone at all, like the overall film tone. Just have
literally another person in a suit.
It's just another person in a suit. You could still have it like a Zodiac kind of tone, because it's the verisimilitude thing, right? Where if that's just that world. That's that if people in this world wear costumes like this. It's very similar to ours in every way, except for a couple. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's fine. Just do it like that. And if the thing is, like, if every other character in the movie sort of just buys it or accepts it, again, that's part of the verisimilitude. It'll just it's fine. People are just so worried about the tone and the realism and all that, and like with the costumes in particular. Like, just don't worry about it, man.
I understand that, but I mean, look at some of the most popular one of the most popular shows in the world, known for having some sense of character depth and themes and all that type of stuff, is Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon right now. Like, that's obviously not a realistic world at all with fucking dragons and White Walkers and all that stuff. And like, just because something's not realistic doesn't mean that it loses meaning or that suddenly things become cartoony. And I think that shows that there's proof of that. And I don't think just giving her a more traditional cowl is going to ruin that. And I think that's something that's planned. I'd be more worried, I think, if it was just like, this is just the Catwoman suit and that's how she's going to look for the rest of the series. But they specifically say in a lot of the behind-the-scenes interview, as well as in the Art of the Batman book, that she is not Catwoman yet in this, which is interesting because I'm like, well, what else is going to make her Catwoman? Just the suit? Because she's pretty much there in terms of her own character.
She's about there. Maybe she'll just have a turn where she's like, I gotta be wearing more of a suit, and I gotta learn to really use this whip.
Yeah. But I would anticipate that we're going to get a more formal Catwoman cowl at some point. Maybe not necessarily in the next one, but I would hope in the next one. I mean, look, there's a lot that's been said about how this is an evolution, and we haven't really gotten to see how that's paid off yet because that's being saved for other stuff. So I'm really curious to see them put the money where the mouth is.
Oh, yeah.
Make it an evolution. Let's see that evolution.
I think what I'm trying to say is like you can have your cake and eat it too.
Yes.
In this
sure.
scenario,
Yeah.
you can have kind of comic booky costume in a very realistic Zodiac world, and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
You know?
No, totally.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got Selina on the motorcycle that we got here. Another shot of Selina's motorcycle, and then more shots with Batman following her, like when he follows her back to her apartment later on. After the apartment, they find out that Police Commissioner Savage has been murdered, and so Batman visits Commissioner Savage's body at the morgue with Gordon. Now we have a slightly different looking Gordon here. He does not even have the glasses on this. So he's got a bit of a different look here from what we got from Jeffrey Wright in the movie. And some of the looks of Gordon in the concept art do recall some of the reports early on that the first choice for Gordon was not actually Jeffrey Wright. It was Blade himself, Mahershala Ali.
Oh, wow.
On this.
Okay.
And at first I thought, like, well, he seems a little young. And then I looked up the ages. So here's some trivia that I found out. Mahershala Ali is already older than Gary Oldman was in Batman Begins, but by 1 year. Mahershala Ali is 48. Gary Oldman was 47 at the time of Batman Begins. Jeffrey Wright is 56. Oldman was 54 in The Dark Knight Rises. So Jeffrey Wright, who's playing Lieutenant Jim Gordon, is actually older than Commissioner Gordon in The Dark Knight Rises.
Damn.
But we don't know because these guys age great. So
Black don't crack, man. We
Black
all know
don't crack.
scientific fact here.
Yeah. But yeah, it just didn't occur to me. I was like, oh, well, I guess he's not as young as I thought, but Jesus.
You got to moisturize, man. I've been doing that
no.
lately. You got to moisturize the face, gentlemen. Most of our audience is guys. So remember, in the morning and night.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
So
gay,
it
all
pays
right?
off.
And even if it
Pays
was
off.
gay, who gives a shit?
Another shot of Batman and Gordon in the morgue. And then after that, that's when Batman recruits Selina. And this is concept art literally of the look at me scene.
Dude,
when he has
this is like a CG render, like pretty hyper realistic CG render,
yeah.
right? This is
I mean,
like
look how close this
whole,
looks to the movie. Yeah.
This is a whole new ball game when it comes to concept art.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
We
is
got another shot
close,
here.
man. This is
Yeah.
pretty close.
Yeah, this is what amazes me about the concept art for this specific episode is like things are just not that far off from what we saw. It almost looks like we're seeing a still from the movie at first glance.
I think that's like Reeves' style, maybe. I don't know. I have to maybe see some
It's
of
the
his other
style
movies.
plus the ability to do that nowadays. That
Yeah.
you probably couldn't back in
Yeah.
'89 when we were looking at that concept art.
Yeah, that's true.
We got the city hall where the mayor's funeral takes place. And then, of course, that all goes to shit when the car crash happens. Again, like, this looks pretty close to what we got.
Almost exactly. That's cool, man. You can visualize so well.
Yeah, so that's great. It just goes to show that, like, they pulled off everything they wanted to do visually with this movie. So, like, no matter what you think of this movie, you got to give them props for being able to do that, because that is a tough thing to do. To take what you really want in your mind and to put that on screen is just, it's a lot harder than what it seems. And you don't really realize that until you have to do it, until you're in production.
For sure, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So after this, we do have concept art of what looks like a deleted scene from the movie. And we'll cover that after the break.
Just wanted to announce that I have a new podcast called Gaming Gaiden. It's about retro gaming. It's a lot about Japanese to English translation. In this first season, it will be 10 episodes each season. First season will be dropping soon, much sooner than I'm on a Recon. The co-host for this one will be Mike Torres. If you saw the ranking every Superman video game two-parter we did here on Superhero Stuff You Should Know, you have seen Mike before. So yes, if you like video games, if you've been interested in Japanese ever, we're going to be talking a lot about just Japan in general, Japanese cultural differences as well, and we also are going to have a lot of talk about 90s video game magazines such as Electronic Gaming Monthly, aka EGM, so stay tuned for that. So please be on the lookout for Gaming Gaiden podcast coming soon.
Ellen, in 15 seconds, what is Nice Games Club?
It's our game dev podcast. Steven, help!
Game mechanics, accessibility, art and animation, level design, prototyping.
everything that goes into making video games. How's that, Mark?
Nice. Listen to Nice Games Club wherever you get your podcasts, or at nicegames.club.
Need some adventure in your life? What Mad Universe is a podcast where two guys delve into the history of sci-fi, fantasy, and horror, and the impact it's had on pop culture.
Everything's the same politically, but we have ray guns.
The actual motive isn't to explore something that's, quote, scientifically possible,
But neither is Star Wars, and I know there's arguments about that, but I would definitely consider Star Wars science fiction.
You haven't read Dune!
No, I haven't.
You can never be the Kwisatz Haderach.
What Mad Universe on the HyperX Podcast Network.
What's that? Majestically cresting the horizon as it makes its way into port. Why, it's the brand new HyperX Armada monitors, mounts, and arms. Both the HyperX Armada 25 and 27 gaming monitors come bundled with a sturdy HyperX Armada mount and arm. If you need every split second of advantage when gaming, the Full HD Armada 25 and its 240Hz refresh rate are for you. If you like to soak in the graphical majesty of your gaming, you'll be eyeing the Quad HD Armada 27 with an 165Hz refresh rate. Set sail for HyperX.com or Amazon.com to start making your display armada.
HyperX has refined their lightweight Cloud Stinger headset and now proudly presents the evolved Cloud Stinger 2.
It still keeps the same rotating ear cups, swivel to mute microphone, and comfort, but now adds 2 years of premium DTS headphone X activation.
Get even better in-game audio and a number of other refinements for the low, low price of $50.
Available now at hyperx.com.
You're listening to Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
And we're back, and we're going to cover a possible deleted scene found in these concept arts. So we've talked about this before, but in the movie, Coulson crashes the funeral, has the riddle for the Batman. Then it cuts to nightfall when Batman arrives. And as we covered in the, I think we covered this in the historical and cinematic influences episode, but there's been this shot that ends up in the trailer. It's on the poster. It's in production stills of Pattinson's Wayne walking out of the funeral carrying a bag. And this bag, presumably, carries the Batsuit. And
has his soul in it. Oh, wait, that's Pulp Fiction.
Yes. And he opens it up and it just bathes him in glow. No. Outside of his soul, or maybe symbolically it's his soul, it's the Batsuit. And the reason why, we might know that is because of this concept art that we have here of Batman in the funeral attire, what looks like he's opening up the back, and there's the Batman cowl. So I think what happens here is he sees that shit's going down in the funeral. Everyone's panicking and running out, but he's going into his car to change. And I'm not jealous of him having to basically change into the Batsuit in that small of a car.
Yeah. It's worse than a phone booth, man.
So at least Clark has super speed, to kind of make that a quick thing. But poor Bruce, especially just how intricate that looks like to get into. So no wonder it's nightfall by the time that he shows up. But this was cut from the movie, and he ends up confronting the Riddler over, virtually and stuff, and Coulson ends up blowing up, and Batman's sent to the GCPD to recover. Here's this shot of Batman talking to Gordon. Again, Gordon almost looks like Sterling K. Brown in this concept art over here, who also probably could have been a decent choice.
Actually, yeah, I think so.
Especially because the MCU is not going to do anything with him anymore. Like he was basically in 5 minutes of Black Panther to get killed off. So.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, because it's Michael B. Jordan's dad.
His father. Yeah, that was a good scene, though, man.
Yeah, no, it was good.
Yeah.
Batman escaping headquarters. Again, look how close this is to what we saw in the movie.
This is this is great. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah. So I know we said this is going to be the unused concept art, but a lot of this is just a revel in just how close he got it to the concept art compared to what we've seen in the past. And so we've got concept art here of the wingsuit that made it into the movie, and it looks realistic for flight suits and evokes the early Golden Age Batman glider cape that we talked about. But as we see in the other concept art, we could have gotten something more traditional, like what we saw in Batman Returns and the Dark Knight trilogy, where the cape itself is the glider.
We talked about this before. Like, I'll be brief if we have, but I prefer this. I wish they had done this. It'd be cool if it's going to be an evolution.
I think that's the idea.
I'll take this comment back if it becomes that, because the squirrel suit looks, as a flying squirrel suit, I know it's more realistic and whatnot, but this is, again, like, it's a guy in a bat suit, dude. And I'd like what you do in the Arkham games and stuff with the kind of hang glide move like Dark Knight. I just prefer that look. And this is way more my speed, I think. You were pretty accepting of the flying squirrel?
I accepted it, but I think it's another thing that we talked about with the evolution, right? So, first off, we have this in concept art. That they're going to do that they were thinking of the glider cape that we've seen before. So that's part of it. I think I was also accepting of it because of the fact that we had seen the glider cape before. So something that was slightly different was fine to me, especially considering like the more iterations you do of Batman, the more you have to like kind of re-justify yourself in terms of like, why are we doing this again? Which Reeves has said before.
I will. Go ahead.
The other aspect for evolution, the other aspect for evolution real quick is the fact that it does not end well. It does not end well. It does get him to escape from the police department, so it does work. It just does not end well for him because he crashes, which hints to me that it's deliberately supposed to be there. It's deliberately supposed to kind of be faulty so that he can perfect it later. That's my theory on that.
I think that's what it is. I give it to you on that, because if we wouldn't have that kind of cool scene of him being like scared shitless to use it, and it's cool to see Batman. That's like one of the cool things about Batman, right? Is that he's human, like everybody says. But what that means also is that he's like not immediately super powerful, or there's a learning curve. He gets fucked up, and he's not Bat-God here, as we can see, because he's scared shitless to use this. It kind of feels like he might have tested this once in an open field.
Right.
But never
not here
never in the city. Right? I don't think he ever tested it in the city. That's the feeling you get when you watch it, which is kind of cool. So I give it to you, but just aesthetically, but yes.
I don't think also aesthetically I think even they agree it's more pleasing, because just look at the concept art here.
Oh, see, this is what you need right here.
Yeah. This is, I mean, in a way, it looks like it's right out of Batman Begins too, but still. And
if we get a slightly blue suit with gray, but the fucking
and the glider,
like that would be the shit, man.
I'll say this too, where I wish we did see this in the movie, but not in that sequence. I wish we saw the actual evolution, because again, it's like we've been told it's an evolution, but I honestly don't think it's quite there in the movie that it's that obvious outside of his own character arc. He's got like an interior character arc that Batman's going to become more of a symbol of hope, but we don't necessarily see these characters evolve visually into what we more traditionally see. He doesn't evolve into a more comic book looking Batsuit. Selina doesn't evolve into a Catwoman suit. Penguin doesn't evolve into a more comic book looking Penguin, and neither does Riddler. There's not really a visual representation of the evolution into the traditional. Yeah, and we could have had that if, like, say, by the end, he's already in that big stadium. The Riddler copycats are all more spread out. He has to go from one place to the other. Now's the time to test the new version. He jumps off, then he glides, and this time he does not crash.
That would be sick.
That's the evolution.
You've had time to think about this, huh? You've been thinking about this?
I've been thinking a lot specifically about the third act of the Batman 2.
Oh,
because
yeah.
I feel like a lot of people's issues... First off, I do... Like everything that I said about the movie the first time that we reviewed it, I stand by it. I don't think I've really changed about it. I do acknowledge its flaws. However, I think a lot of the flaws that people bring up are overblown, and I think a lot of people make shit up these days. I think film criticism is close to dead at this point thanks to the internet. But some of the valid criticisms...
Black Adam 90%, baby!
I think some of the certain criticisms could have been addressed with just another rewrite of the... Basically, everything from the arrest of Falcone onward could have been streamlined further, could have been rewritten in ways that would have demonstrated Batman's detective work a little more. And I can go a little bit more into it if we have time after this. But I've thought about this. Yeah, I've thought about this a lot in terms of just like what is off about this, and I think I realized what it was.
It's the third act. Everybody knows that. But anyway, we'll get to it.
It's really the third act, and even like before the third act too. And I'll let you guys know. I'll save it to the end.
We'll get to it.
But anyway, this is Bat again. Another star shot of the glider. Just look how good this looks. Again,
Oh man,
have him
yeah.
glide at the end to stop the Riddler copycats. Like that just shows, like, yeah, this is a Batman who evolves and learns from his mistakes.
And if we
You
have
need
anybody,
something like that.
if Madsen Tomlin or somebody out there is actually listening to this, because who knows these days, dude, with getting Sam Hammond shit on here. But like, if you're actually in the screenwriting game, writing superhero movies, we're just jackasses on the internet. Well, but at least
We're trying not to be just
we're trying-
jackasses on the internet.
we're trying to not just be
One
that.
of us has a movie he's working on.
Yeah, and you got your screenwriting stuff you're doing, but you probably already know this, but let's just talk about it anyway, real quick. There should be some emotional thing that kind of sets up like the character arc. Whenever there's an internal change, then we get the external change with a new suit or something. That way, it's more accepting to the audience and shit. Or like, it all go back to the emotions, right? Or like, how would you? Well, maybe we have to say this for after, man. But like, I'm maybe jumping ahead here, but like. So you have an evolution from squirrel suit to this. Is there any kind of internal thing you would do, or I don't
Not
know.
in relation to this one.
Okay.
Really. I wouldn't say really in relation to the suit. It just kind of shows that the tech evolves, because that's kind of really what it's supposed to demonstrate, right? Like it's inspired by Earth 1, where like he pulls out the grappling gun in like the first page or so, and it malfunctions right on the spot, and then eventually like it doesn't anymore. Like
It's trial and error. So he's just learning trial and error, which is
it's
good.
a trial
enough.
and error thing. Yeah. It
But
just
if
shows
there's
that he learns from his mistakes.
If there's a whole new suit, maybe it's Alfred saying something, but like one of the best ways, I don't know how you do it, but some sort of emotional tie-in with the suit.
I think it's what was talked about at the end, with him being a symbol of hope, where he can't be fear anymore. And so maybe that's why like the suit might look different in the next one. And so instead of like, I'm hopeful the next, I mean, they can just, we'll just put this out there because I think I said it already in the Patreon, but like it's the bat signal shining in the opening again. It's another journal entry, but instead of people, all the criminals being afraid of the bat signal, it's the citizens of Gotham, and it sort of instilling hope that they're being protected and stuff. And instead of Batman going out and beating the shit out of criminals, it's Batman saving people. Like it's pretty much like addressing like, okay, now I'm the symbol of hope. Now what? What's the next challenge and stuff? So it kind of reestablishes the status quo of Batman, while also showing the evolution from the previous movie. Because again, like if they got to put their money where their mouth is when it comes to the evolution stuff, because like it's all in the interviews, but it's not necessarily in the movie yet. It's only really in the movie if we see it in the context of the other films we have not seen yet. So
the police are coming after whoever the Batman fucked up on your end. I feel like
they're coming after, they're coming after me. I got to glide out of here.
Yeah. Oh man.
Here's Batman waiting for Gordon at their remote location.
Okay.
It was an interesting change from the comics to not have it at the GCPD headquarters, but I think given how corrupt the police department is, it made sense for them to kind of have their own secret hideout on that. Because it threw me at first. I'm just like, it's not at the GCPD headquarters, but then I'm just like, well, the fucking police is corrupt right now. Why would you put it, like, why would you put the bat signal in, it'd be like putting it right over Arkham or something. Like, why would you do that? So
that's true.
It made sense.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Unless Gordon just has like complete and total control over that roof, and no one else
but
can
he's
show
just a
up.
lieutenant right now. Yeah.
Oh,
like
that
if he's
is
commissioner,
true.
Yeah.
When he's a commissioner, then they can move. That's right. That's a good detail
Evolution.
to keep in mind.
Evolution. Yeah.
We moved to the police roof. Yeah, I run this fucking department now.
Yeah.
That's the one
Maybe that's
fuck
the
I
ending
get
of
in
the
a
next one.
PG-13. It's Commissioner Gordon going, I run this fucking place.
Jeffrey Wright is going to kill that line.
Dude,
I run this fucking place.
So
it's great.
Like I've met Jeffrey Wright as well, and not to fucking like bring up people I meet up all the time, but to say something good about people. He's fucking cool too. Like Dolph Lundgren. Nice. These are good people, dude. Not every celebrity is a piece of shit. They're actually most of them pretty cool. And Jeffrey Wright's one of them. He's real chill. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's not only my favorite Gordon, but he's also becoming one of my favorite Batman voices, because he does the voice of Batman in the HBO Max Batman The Audio Adventures, which I know originally I told you it was like, this is not for me, but then I revisited it I really liked it more. The new season is out in honor of Halloween because it's got Bradley Whitford as the Scarecrow, voicing the Scarecrow. It's way better than the first season. He's great in it as Batman, Jeffrey Wright. So not only is he a great Gordon, but he's also a great Batman. So it's just not fair, dude. He's playing two great, characters. Takes on these characters at the same time.
He's such a good guy, though, man.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, he's great.
I mean it is fair.
Success.
I know. I'm saying it is fair. I'm just saying it's not fair in the sense that he gets
many.
to do two great, so many great ones at the same time.
Yeah. I know. He's
in
awesome,
a complimentary way, but yeah.
Yeah.
So it's after this that Batman and Gordon go to follow Penguin's drug ring at Gotham Recycling, and the Art of Batman book covers that sort of how this drugs business actually works. I don't think it's actually described in the movie, but it says that it's at the recycling plant because they distribute drugs through the dumpsters, and the trucks distribute them throughout the town. I don't know the details of how that works, but clearly they've thought that shit out.
Did they ever say anything about what the drops were? To me, it kind of felt like it was like LSD in eye drop form.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like, because obviously it's not cocaine based off of
no,
based off of how they were acting.
It's a downer, right?
Yeah, it looks like they were downers.
Yeah.
So like that's probably what it was.
Mm-hmm.
The Art of the Batman also says that Boss Maroni died, but that's not really verified in the movie. They just said he was captured, so it might have just been a goof on the writer's part. It's described that way by the writer of the book, not by somebody from behind the scenes. So I think that was just a typo or a mistake. We've now reached the part with one of our favorite Batmobiles.
One of the best.
One of the best. It does seem that, just like the theme for the rest of this, that we do not really have a lot of unused Batmobile designs to go over like we did with the, like with Tim Flattery, because they wanted this from the beginning. This
Matt Reeves is
car.
like Christine, motherfucker.
Exactly. He wanted from the get-go to do Christine from the Stephen King novel and the John Carpenter movie as the Batmobile. And it's honestly one of my favorite takes on just that idea. It just solidifies, as I said before, like you got to have a take on all these different things. And clearly there's a take here on the Batmobile. I want to see more of this. I want to see more Christine-inspired scenes and stuff on there, but
dude, horror car type of shit.
Yeah,
a perfect take, because you got the suit supposed to inspire fear in criminals before he's hope and shit, right?
Yeah.
And like the Batmobile as well should do that same thing. So that's cool. Like same strategy with the suit and the car.
Yeah, like there's almost. If you see Christine the first time that Christine goes after somebody, it's almost Reeves doesn't completely copy it, but it's slightly beat for beat of how Penguin first sees the Batmobile, because it's just person, the car, person, the car. What's the car going to do? Person, the car. Then the car starts up and starts heading towards the guy, and the guy's like, "Oh fuck!" And that's basically what it is. But it works so well in this. And one of the things they pointed out was just the fact that it's the Batmotif is subtly there. There's still something to it when you see it, where it is a Batmobile because of like the kind of subtle like wings that are on the side there. But if you look at it from a bird's eye view, as you can see here, they say that it kind of makes it have the shape of his cowl in a way, with the ears and stuff, which you can see here for a little bit. So that's cool. I like that more than the like extremely subtle bat with the wings folded thing on the tumbler that we talked about before.
That was just...
It seemed like that was reaching.
Yeah, that's reaching. That's A for effort, I guess, but not my thing.
Yeah,
not my diagnosis.
This is our This is the closest to like an alternate design that we have here, and even then, it's still the muscle car type of thing. So it's very close to what we ended up getting.
Sleeker, right?
Yeah,
this is what I've been wanting.
Yeah, for sure. So. This is one of our favorite Batmobiles since, I would say, the Tim Burton one. It doesn't beat
easily.
the Tim Burton one, but it's still up for, especially these days when like you have the shadow of the Burton one and the '66 one. Like for this to make it up there in our rankings was a miracle.
Flattery, forgive me.
Sorry, Tim.
Just we like this one more than. Yeah. Anyway, You were fucking awesome.
He
dude.
might agree. He might agree.
Forgive us. You had studio mandate probably too. So and Tim Burton.
He gave us that whole. He gave us the whole story on that with Schumacher. So this is John McCoy's concept of the interrogation of Penguin, and you can kind of see. It's hard to see it from here, but if you look very closely, Penguin's got the more beak-type nose from the tradition. You can kind of see it in the silhouette form of that. So, like, that's kind of cool from that. And then we got Batman arriving at the orphanage, a specific shot we did not get in the movie of him just kind of being outside of it, waiting to come in. Probably waiting on Gordon, because Gordon's car probably is not nearly as fast as the Batmobile. Batman then alone inside the broken down orphanage, which looks pretty creepy here. And, it's here that he discovers that Bruce Wayne is the next victim, and then he drives back home where Alfred is caught in the explosion. Now, I just want to address one specific criticism I've heard that I think is kind of up in the air, which is that people have said that Alfred has looked over Riddler's writing so much that why would he open the package that has Riddler's writing on it? That would cause the explosion. However, I don't think the explosion is actually caused by opening the package. There's no tripwire or anything like that. It could be done by a timer. I don't know. But the thing is, him opening the package allowed him to see the fire, basically the clue that it was a bomb, which enabled him to throw it out. So you could argue that him knowing that it was Riddler's handwriting was actually what saved his life, not something that actually endangered him. But I think it's up in the air in terms of what caused the bomb to come on, to be set off.
This is news to me. I didn't know this was an issue with the fans. But
some people have brought that up. They're just like, why would Alfred even open it? I'm just like, technically it's because he opened it that it saved his life. So, I don't know on that. It could have worked if there was like a line in the hospital room and stuff where he's like, how did you know it was, it wasn't. Yeah, and then, have Alfred describe the fact where it's like, well, I knew it was Riddler's handwriting, but I didn't want to endanger you and stuff, so I had to make sure, even if I had to take the bullet for like something like that, just to sort of address, the potential holes in that. But again, it's not something that bothered me in the viewing. It's just something that other people brought up. And when I watched it, I'm just like, is this legit, or is there something here that, people just aren't getting? And to me, I'm just like, well, it arguably is what saves his life. Because otherwise he would have just been right over the desk and the thing would have blown up.
Interesting. So, okay.
That's my take on it.
So Reeves wins again.
To me, Reeves wins on that one.
And Mattson Tomlin. And who was the main writer?
Peter Craig. Also co-writer on Top Gun Maverick, our favorite movie this year.
Woo!
So, one of 5 writers on that movie. But
McQuarrie came in with the rewrite, though.
Yeah, that's what we think.
More than likely.
Yeah. So John McCoy did this concept art of Bruce looking in on Alfred's hospital bed. Again, this looks like a still from the movie.
Yeah.
But this is pretty much what we got. Another shot of Batman looking over the city in the rain at night. And the main time we see him looking over the city is when it's like at dawn when he meets with Selina. So I thought this is cool to kind of see. I think this is kind of, I don't think it was meant to originally be on a rainy night. I think this is just general concept art of Batman looking over the city. But
just standard concept art. Batman in the rain looks fucking sweet. It's just how good. I think they chose dawn. To me, that reads like, what color palette has Batman really not been in a whole lot? We got night. Yeah. We had day and Dark Knight Rises. Fucking dawn, bro. Like, there's just a lot of dawn in it.
It did make it look really, it looked gorgeous. Like that shot, that first shot from behind him where he's looking out at the city. And then I'm just like, you know what? Like, that looks new compared to if it's just another shot of him looking over the city, which is what we see here,
Yeah, it was a way to make it different. I don't know if there was really too much else to that decision, but it's cool enough.
Yeah, I think so. The concept art of the kiss with Selina. Over here, pretty much what we got to. And then below that looks like another look at concept art of Batman doing the whole look at me scene from earlier and stuff. Now, what we have here is interesting. This looks like concept art of Falcone's place. Now, Falcone's hiding place is apparently meant to be under a bridge.
I think you mean evil lair.
Yes. His evil lair, his evil hideout and headquarters is under a bridge, which makes sense as the Iceberg Lounge is under the bridge anyway. And this is inspired by real life, apparently. It's inspired by Robert Moses and the Triborough Commission, where there was a legend that Moses had an office beneath a toll plaza in the bridge. And as the money that people put in for the tolls came in, it went through like a tube in the guy's office and stuff. So this is kind of what inspired that. So that's another historical influence that we can add to the many historical influences that we talked about in that episode. So that's one thing. But another thing that you might notice is that Falcone's the bald guy on the left here, but on the right is Bruce Wayne, and it's not Bruce Wayne in like the T-shirt and jacket like in the movie. He's in a full-out suit. He's in a traditional Bruce Wayne outfit in this concept art. Again, I think this is just because it's concept art and they're just kind of playing around with it, but it does make me wish I would have liked to have seen, just in the influence of us talking about the evolution of the character, I think it would have been cool to see him in this Bruce Wayne outfit at the very end. Not in like the funeral, not in like a random party scene just for him to show up for, appearance's sake, but have him actually show up at the end, because I realized that at the end of the movie, and maybe I'm skipping a little ahead with the whole like stuff with the third act, it's all of the whole movie is about how the money that Thomas Wayne set up, the renewal fund, did not get to the intended people, and that there was corruption. There is not really a resolution to the fact that that was revealed. So I'm just like, well, wouldn't it make sense for Bruce Wayne's debut, especially after this flood, to reinstate the renewal fund the way it should have been, which is to make the money go towards the people who need it, especially the victims of the flood. And wouldn't that have been a nice revolution to see Pattinson go from the, sort of Kurt Cobain-inspired look that he had beforehand to evolving into the more traditional Bruce Wayne look at the end? He doesn't have to act, again, he doesn't have to be Playboy, Christian Bale, drunk douche at this point. Just a different look at the end to sort of symbolize that's happening.
Yeah, he's at least giving somewhat of a shit.
Right. It'd be a little similar to what happened in Black Panther, where like Killmonger just opens T'Challa's eyes about what's going on. And so like in a way, like Killmonger's methods weren't great, but like he was right overall, and so T'Challa moves on from that and tries to set things right in his own way. It's a similar thing here where like Riddler was right that the renewal fund was not going to the right people and that the whole system was corrupt. He just was trying to kill everybody in order to get there. Bruce, in the meantime, is just like, well, I'm just going to fix that. So like that's a small thing that I think they could have had at the end, and maybe they did, and they just had to cut it. But
it's good. It's a good idea. I just hopefully they don't do like this MCU Hulk thing where like all this evolution happens in between movies.
I know.
And like he's wearing a suit in the first scenes of the Batman 2. Like if we should have it, we should do your idea, but have him looking like a bum still in the first act or so.
Right, or at least in the funeral outfit,
Yeah, the funeral outfit. And then we see the evolution happen throughout that movie, and we see the Hope idea kind of permeate his DNA more and more.
Right, yeah, because I don't need him to be the Christian Bale playboy. I don't need the Ben Affleck, like, I like those shoes type of, like, aspect of Bruce Wayne. But I do think...
Burnout Bat.
I do think that this version is heading towards philanthropist Bruce Wayne, just given the sheer amount of, like, well, the renewal fund didn't go to anybody, and, the future mayor telling him, like, you don't seem to be doing anything to help the city with philanthropy. I'm like, I think the evolution is towards philanthropist Bruce Wayne, not the, like, playboy Bruce Wayne who's always going to parties with supermodels on his side. I don't think we're necessarily going to see that. But, like, the philanthropist aspect of it, I think that's what this is heading towards.
Hopefully. It seems like they're really competent people on this series, so...
Yeah.
Hopefully so, yeah.
Hopefully so. This is, again, John McCoy doing the bedroom of Bruce Wayne, the childhood bedroom. One of the main references for sort of the interior was the documentary Grey Gardens about a decaying New York mansion. And so I think that's why Wayne Tower, the interior of it, I love how gothic it is, but it also looks very old, like very old school.
It's dusty, dude. Looks like you sneeze while sleeping.
Right. So
cracking myself up over here. Okay.
So after Bruce's sneezes while sleeping, we get Selina's assassination attempt on Falcone. This is a look at her outfit where, after the wig comes off, her confrontation with Falcone, she basically looks like Selina from year one. More of Selina's confrontation with Falcone here. Again, this all just looks very similar to what we got, right down to, the TV screen as she has the gun to Falcone here. Another shot of her gun on Falcone, a slightly different take on it. And then the next part is Batman hiding at the top of the elevator when fighting the thugs that are at Falcone's place. So
classic
shit. Riddler's apartment, again, looks pretty close to what we ended up getting. If anything, they made it look even more like a hoarder's place. It looks empty compared to what was actually in the movie and stuff. We get concept art of his computer, the carpet tucker that he used to kill the mayor. According to the Art of the Batman book, there were some other real-life inspirations. Riddler's cipher derives from like different ancient languages and the Latin alphabet and stuff when they were creating the code, so that was cool.
That's cool.
Apparently, Riddler's journal, like the way that it was written, was inspired by artist Charles Crumb in terms of like the very compact writing.
You know Charles Crumb?
I don't know that much about him. No.
Okay, Crumb. There's a documentary called Crumb, and I think that's the name of it anyway. But he's an American cartoonist, very cartoony, like kind of classic newspaper fucking kind of drawings. But they're cool though. It's like that classic Americana style, and but God, dude, I was in college or something, and I'm watching the documentary, and he had this one really potent kind of saying in it. He was like, he was just talking about Nike shirts, dude. And look, I'm wearing a graphic tee right now. We both are. But he was like, it's like everybody's wearing advertising. Like, he's an older guy too. It's kind of before the times of graphic tees, but still, like, he was just like, just wear a plain shirt. Why do you need like another company's advertising on it? And that just really struck me at the time. But at the same time, I kind of just want to wear shit of stuff I like. So whatever. But it was just, he's kind of a deep thinker guy. And he did this is a total tangent, but we'll get back to the Batman shit in a second. He fucking did a completely accurate comic portrayal of the book of Genesis. All the bad stuff, like, when I say bad, I'm talking about the rape and everything, but like, it's like an unfiltered version of Genesis.
I see.
The first book of the Bible, in his cartoony style. So like, that's kind of one of the bigger things he's known for these days, I think.
Interesting. Yeah, I wasn't too familiar with him, but apparently that was the inspiration of the way the writing looked.
It's interesting they chose that. That's cool.
Yeah, I think so too. The book also shares not only a shot of the journal entry that's, that Gordon reads in the film about like, my life has been a riddle, but also like there's another journal entry that might have been helpful to put in the movie where he talks about how like he feels like he's living in hell and other people don't recognize it, and he sort of resents other people's stupidity for not recognizing it, and so he has this sort of growing hatred.
Great. That's great.
Yeah, he has this growing hatred towards other people in the city because of how alone he feels, which could also add more perspective into him wanting to flood Gotham. Because I think one of the flaws that you and I agree with is the fact that this flood of Gotham feels like it's not motivated by the Riddler, from Riddler's perspective. Everything up until Falcone's death just makes sense until the flood, which seems like it's out of nowhere.
Out of his MO. And like, I don't know if it was you or me that had the idea, but we were like, maybe it was, think about like Q from QAnon, like has a plan. Riddler has a plan, but then the QAnon followers amp it up past what even he was thinking, and that could have been what the Riddler's henchmen have done. This was my thinking. Like, the henchmen amped it up. It was their idea to do the fucking bombs, and then Riddler is like kind of probably like looking at the movement like, fuck, what have I done, kind of thing. I don't know, like, it could have been a cool scene, but he goes with it anyway because he's a villain. But like, his movement gets out of his hand, it's out of control, really.
That could be interesting if they had more exploration of this movement, because it was kind of just like, oh, he's got a lot of followers or whatever and stuff, and then suddenly it's like, yeah, he's got a whole bunch of copycats. It's suddenly like revealed in like the final 30 minutes or so. Like, but if it was like more planted that there was a movement and stuff, and then that movement gets away from him, that could have been interesting. And that's something they could also explore in the future. Maybe not necessarily with Riddler, but like with another type of character, like that. If they do Black Mask and the False Face Society, if they do anybody who has some sort of following or other influence on others and stuff, Deacon Blackfire and the cult, like all that type of stuff, they could potentially do something like that.
I mean, yeah, at that point, the Riddler's too far in. He can't say, if he backs out and says, that's not him, that's my henchman, his henchman will turn against him, and he knows that, so he'll, just go with it and just claim it as him. And the henchmen want them, I would say they'd want him to claim it, even though they thought of it, and you know what I mean? We're talking about just the bombs here. So that would have helped ease us into that third act, right? I think.
Yeah, I think there are different issues of the third act, but when it comes to the Flood specifically, there's a lack of motivation, as well as the fact that it just feels like there's one too many scenes to get there, as we've talked about before, and those scenes involve stuff that have been kind of already been done before, whether it's the villain turning himself in deliberately or Batman having a intense interrogation room scene with Riddler. I'm like, we could have. Like, if you just change, this is a great scene, by the way, with Pattinson and Dano in the interrogation room scene. I'm not saying cut that. I'm just saying move the location. It doesn't have to be in there, because otherwise, like, you put Batman with the main villain in an interrogation room, everyone's going to start comparing it to Dark Knight, even though the story purpose is a lot different in each one. Like, I would just avoid the comparisons completely unless you absolutely have to do that.
Batman interrogates his villains, though, so like
he does, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like,
So
it's the setting specifically. If it was not in that setting, people would not have been making the comparisons to Dark Knight for that part. But because it's in an interrogation room, that's what comes up. So anyway,
I get it.
We also talked about how the diner that we saw in the movie is somewhat inspired by Nighthawks, the Hopper painting.
Oh yeah, that was one of the most easily understood references. Yeah,
and also shown in the in year one as well. So that's confirmed in this. We get concept art of the stadium, where if you look at the concept art, it looks pretty much like what we saw in the movie, except Bella Real is white in this. Oh, yeah. So that's probably before they cast the actress. Concept art of the flood, or really just this looks like it's right before the water breaks across Gotham. So we got that. We got Batman crashing through the skylight with a ton of glass following him. Our Patreon patron Halsey is not going to like this one. Join the $5 tier to find out why.
You just gotta let it go, man.
I know.
It's fine. Somebody could shoot Batman's jaw with a sniper rifle. Also, you just gotta let it
Preaching
go.
to the choir when it comes to me.
Yeah.
We got concept art of Batman fighting Riddler copycats and saving people at the end. And I want to bring this up because we got a lot of different people talking to us about this in past episodes, and we insisted, what we are going to confirm now. But we have concept art of the syringe that Batman injects himself in order to save Selina. Despite people theorizing that this was Venom because the color was green and because there's a Venom story arc in which Batman uses Venom, it literally says a shot of adrenaline straight to the system. Adrenaline is confirmed, everybody. We've been saying this since the release of the movie. This was not Venom. Even if Venom exists in this universe at this point, if they introduced Venom that way, that would have been a shitty way to introduce it from a writing perspective. There's nothing planned about it. There's no explanation on how he randomly just has this, just go with the simplest explanation, and that's what it is.
Yeah, people just want, comic fans
they want the comic book.
They love Easter eggs. People love Easter eggs, but just you're seeing patterns where there are none.
If it was not colored green, I wonder if people would be saying the same thing. I think it might be specifically because it's the green color.
100%, dude. If it was pink or some shit, no one would fucking bat an eye.
If it was just clear, then people would be like, "Oh, it's adrenaline." But for some reason, they did it green, and people were just like, "Oh, it's Venom." I'm like, guys, no, not right now. It's not planted whatsoever at this point.
If it is Venom, it's just not planted well at all, and it's like it just doesn't seem like they're gonna hinge anything on that quick thing. You know what I mean?
That they have not introduced whatsoever. Like, it'd be one thing if Alfred just like, okay, we got the supply from Santa Prisca over there, only use this in emergencies, and he hands him the syringe and stuff, and then we see it. Maybe that could be Venom or something like that, but it's just not planted at all that it would be Venom, so we kind of have to go with a more realistic thing.
I'm jacked now, Alfred.
We got concept art of Batman helping the woman out of the stadium towards the end. And then this was interesting. I was not expecting. I realized that this was around. I just forgot that this was around. But there's concept art of the inside of Arkham Asylum. Again, this just looks like a still from the fucking movie at this point, just because of how close this is. But there's also concept art of the Joker. Now,
Cool.
It's just a smile or so. But I thought this was interesting because there's so little right now that we've seen of the Joker. And I kind of wish that they stuck with this whole man who laughs idea with the permanent, smile and stuff rather than the chemical burn stuff. That scene that showed more of his design was deleted. So who knows? Maybe they will have a different look in the next one.
I think
we'll
so.
see.
They might have gotten cold feet about the design, or
Yeah, that's
I
a
don't
possibility
know.
too.
Like it's just, I don't know. I don't
We'll
love
see
it
if he looks
either.
that way in the next one. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't. Again, I'm not a huge fan of the scarred version of Joker. I wasn't a huge fan of it when it was Heath. So
Yeah.
I'd rather it just be if it's just Barry Keoghan with the permanent smile, Conrad Veidt man who laughs style, and just put him in the makeup. That's perfectly fine with me. That's perfectly
Yeah.
fine with me.
I will
in the
say,
final
though,
cut, you
when
barely
they're-
see it anyway.
When they're laughing at when that scene ends
Mm-hmm.
in the movie,
Yeah.
I could just visualize the comic panel with the ha ha
Oh,
ha
yeah.
at the top. You know what I mean?
One's
I
in
could,
green and one's in purple.
Yeah, I could just totally visualize it. That was pretty comic booky there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, for sure. I like that. Concept art of Batman talking to Selina after she's visited her mom's grave. And then we get the introduction of the Batcycle. Again, pretty much what we got in the movie. James Chinlund, who was part of this, comments in the book that there's kind of a deliberate design to make the back of it sort of bare. You kind of see the back of the Batcycle is sort of just pointed. There's not much there to it. They said, quote, he wasn't really focused on any protection from the back because he's always driving forward. He's in pursuit. No one's chasing him. And so that was sort of the mission statement, this kind of relentless hammer-like drive forward behind the design of this. So I thought that was interesting.
Wow. All right. That's
so-
that's pretty interesting.
That's the Batcycle. That takes us to the end of the movie. However, the book does give us some deleted concepts that I wanted to save towards the end. There's not a lot. It seems like this is a deleted scene, but it looks like this is the GCPD bullpen, not just the area where Batman wakes up and fights the cops. But
Oh, dude, this is where they set up Gotham Central, baby.
yeah,
Fuck yeah, bro.
yeah. So this is the bullpen of that. Another shot of this, and then the book also shows gadgets we did not get to see in the movie, specifically nunchucks, spring-loaded nunchucks. So we did not
Batman
get that.
using nunchucks.
I don't know why we did not get this because we could have. Imagine if he used this in one of the fight scenes. That would have been awesome, especially
A fellow chucker, eh?
if he knows what he's doing too.
Oh man, I
if
mean
he's
that would be
smacking
incredible.
the Riddler guys in the face with this.
Dude, I'm down for that. Any Ninja Turtle type of weapons Batman uses, I'm gonna be down for sure. What I loved about the latest Cobra Kai is we got to see Sai, the size.
Oh yeah, with Chosen, yeah.
Fucking spoilers, but it's been a few weeks. But fucking we've seen Bo, we've seen Katana, and we've seen nunchucks here and there. But Sai, dude, they got their fucking. We got to see a little bit more of that, which was cool. So I'd love to see. I'd love to see any of this kind of stuff. I mean, the 2012 Ninja Turtles animated, the CG one, also introduced it's called a Kusarigama. Like a throwing chain sickle thing. Michelangelo's using that sometimes.
Oh, that's awesome.
So to see any of these kind of weapons used in this way. I mean, again, Mattson Tomlin, Peter Craig, if you're out there, let's try to add some of these things in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, please. I also like that it shows because it's not really evident that he's been trained by anyone other than Alfred yet. In this universe, and so it kind of shows that. I mean, maybe Alfred still taught him, but it does show an Eastern influence on his fighting.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah. So
I want to say
that's what I like.
Shaolin moves too, ninja moves, but also Shaolin Kung Fu moves.
Mm-hmm.
That's the two major martial arts I want to see from Batman. To be honest with you, dude. When I say mixed martial arts, I just want to be mixing those two.
Yeah. No, for sure. We need to see a little bit more of the Eastern influence, I think.
Yeah.
Now, we know that the only Batarang we see in the movie is the one in his chest. However, as a final image, this is something that I thought was really cool in the art book. You see Batarangs being made in the book.
Sick.
Concept art here. And they look pretty cool. They're different from what's on his chest. And so they've got these, they got these little holes on the sides here and stuff. You kind of have to see it and stuff. And it looks like he's practiced throwing it into a concrete wall slab on the right there. So that's what we got for the Batarangs and stuff. So
that's cool.
Now, I think since we're done with the art stuff, you wanted to talk a little bit more about, or I guess I wanted to talk a little bit more about the third act stuff and stuff when it comes to the Batman. And I think I realized, because a lot of people have been talking or criticizing the detective work in the movie, and I looked through it, and I think in order to judge the detective work done, you have to see it in terms of, like, is he realistically able to figure things out that the other characters and the audience are not able to figure out? And the answer is yes, he can. I think what is missing is not necessarily his detective skills so much as something that is part of a lot of mystery stories structurally, but is not actually in the movie, which is when the detective turns the tables and reveals what he's figured out towards the end. You know, in the classic Agatha Christie, it's like, I've gathered you all here today because one of you is a murderer. And then, like, he ends, Poirot's, like, ends up, like, citing, like, all the different clues and stuff. We don't necessarily need something like that, but I think we needed, like, we saw detective work, we just needed the world's greatest detective moment where he figured something out that the audience had no way of knowing, and for once he flips the tables on Riddler, because he's pretty much playing catch-up to Riddler the entire movie, even in the third act and stuff. So I think we needed that moment. As we talked about before, the Flood is not motivated, so that's an issue. And then I think what was the other thing? Those were kind of the main things that I've been thinking about. And the other thing is that the action sequence against the Riddler copycats, it's mostly good. The thing is, it feels like it falls flat in some weird way. And it always kind of
You're talking about the fight scene with the Riddler henchman?
The Riddler henchman, yeah, towards the end. Like, this is the final fight, and, like, yeah, you'd expect it to happen. And I think one of the reasons why it might fall flat compared to, say, the warehouse scene, or even my favorite action sequence from The Dark Knight, which is him in the abandoned building, and all the hostages are actually people who look like they're hostages are actually the henchmen, and all the people who look like the henchmen are the hostages, and he has to take out the SWAT team, like all that type of stuff, requiring some intellect. But it's just, there are, like, heavy stakes on the line in that sequence in Dark Knight, where, like, people will die if he doesn't do anything. And we get that a little bit in here, but it's mostly him just duking it out with a bunch of guys. There's not really a case of, guy's got a gun on somebody and he has to save. Like, it's a little more fight, a little less saving people. And I realize that's part of the arc, but we're also in the fucking third act at that point. So here are some things that I've considered. One thing is that when you get to the point where Batman has captured Falcone, and Falcone says, everything that I know is going to die with me, and I take that to the grave and stuff. From that point on, things could be slightly different. I think from that point on, Batman actually does have enough information to predict what's coming, and that's where you can get the world's greatest detective moment. So after Falcone says that, maybe Batman thinks over, like, his thoughts, and then we cut to the outside. The police are bringing out Falcone and stuff. Batman's not with them. They bring him out. They quote-unquote bring him into the light. We see a sniper about to take out Falcone, and then Batman stops him. And then you're just like, okay, how did he know that was going to be there? And
that would be sweet, yeah.
And so that's where World's Greatest Detective comes in. Because I'm like, at what point do we have enough clues that Batman could have reasonably been able to prevent something? Because, like, you can't realistically say that Batman would have been able to prevent the Flood in the context of the movie, outside of just, like, maybe finding out it was a carpet tuck beforehand, opening it up, and then getting the message about the Flood. Like,
I mean, he's going after the Riddler. He's trying to find the main guy, not the henchman. Again, if we're going off my idea kind of mixed in with this, it would kind of make sense there as well, right?
Yeah. But here, I'm just like, here he might have enough clues if we play it from the World's Greatest Detective angle. So Gordon's like, how the hell do you know there was going to be a sniper up there? And Batman brings up a few things. One is the fact that every picture that Riddler has sent them has been from the same angle from above the Iceberg Lounge, which means that Riddler has had some access to that vantage point in order to spy on the Iceberg Lounge. That does not necessarily mean that he lives there. It just means that he's had some access to there. The other part was the whole riddle, to bring the rat into the light. And every single time that they've tried to follow the Riddler's been one step ahead of him. He wanted to turn the tables and stuff. And he knows that there are lights outside the Iceberg Lounge. So he realizes that something could happen to Falcone, especially given how angry Riddler is at Falcone and stuff, that Riddler could potentially attack. So we get that aspect too. So I can see Batman could realistically stop Falcone's murder in this one. Because, like, really, we need Falcone out of the picture, but we don't necessarily need him dead in this movie. For the
maybe whenever he knocks on the door to the Iceberg Lounge, maybe we just get a quick shot of him looking outside.
Yeah, or when he's walking,
Yeah.
He's scoping it out and he sees the lights.
He's noticing the lights at that point. That would have been a cool little quick. You don't at first glance it seems like he's just kind of just doing a simple glance. You know what I mean? But that fucking is something, to the story, which will be
exactly
with this later. Yeah.
So then it becomes like the most important thing. So that shot of him like slowly walking up to the Iceberg Lounge and stuff, instead of that just kind of being for atmosphere, that actually becomes an important story point, because then he sees he's scoping out the outside of it. And then later on when he's explaining to Gordon, you could even do the flash cuts to like whatever the clues, because the clues were in front of us all along, that type of thing. So he brings that up to Gordon, and Gordon's like, well, it doesn't matter much now because we got the bastard. And Batman's like, that's not Riddler. The sniper's not Riddler.
Right.
And the reason why he knows is because the guy does not physically match the guy he saw at the funeral. Remember, he looked up and he saw that everyone else was running away and there was one guy who was remaining. And he knows what that guy... He doesn't know what he looks like facially, but he kind of knows the build. And this guy does not match the build at all, which means that it's someone else and stuff. And that sort of already plants this whole, like, Riddler follower movement type of stuff, So that's, I think we needed some sort of world's greatest detective type aspect for that. And then for the finale and stuff, in terms of the action sequence, I think instead of them necessarily being on one area, I think if we have the Riddler followers more spread out, then we can incorporate the glider, B, people are in different areas, and so Batman is specifically saving, follow me here, families who are about to get gunned down. He is specifically, instead of being the guy who beats down the Joe Chills of the world who have already shot the families, he's the guy saving the families and stuff. So we have kind of like him seeing the families in danger, the guns towards him. He takes off in the glider. Then he's basically beating the shit out of them, but also saving people at the same time. I think I brought up the very first time we did the review where like we kind of have like action of him beating a whole bunch of guys up, and then realizing he's got to save everybody, and then saving people. It was kind of just like a weird, here's one box, here's the other box.
Oh, yeah, I agree. It's felt like studio mandate kind of thing again, which is, they handled it well enough, but it was like we have our little fight scene, and we got a little save scene. Right. Yeah, I think, they were two separate.
Combine it instead. Like, you could combine it. You could still have the moment where, when everything's over, where, after he saves Selina and stuff, then he takes out the electricity and all that and starts saving people from there too, but also saving people in the action sequence increases the drama.
Somehow turned off the light and shit became real fucking dark.
That's the other thing I was thinking too.
I fucking batarang to the fucking light, and then like, where'd he go? The classic shit, and fucking
Oh yeah. So he glides in, but he doesn't glide towards them. He glides towards the electricity thing, then takes out the lights.
And
then there's all darkness. Then we get the part from early in the Iceberg Lounge where the whole thing is lit by the fucking the gunshots and stuff. We get that here leading up to like the big fight and stuff.
Instead of a big, and maybe some fighting, but like a lot more stealth stuff too, and like, fucking like.
Yeah, because he's got the cover of darkness.
Uses the cape to choke dudes out and shit. It would be, that would be. See, the thing is though, it's so much easier to correct a script than to write it wholesale. You know,
we're jackasses on the internet. We're not basically saying like they should just do whatever the fuck we said. These guys are idiots. Like no. These guys pulled off a miracle pulling this off. We don't know how much was studio mandates, how many rewrites were there, what was in the original third act. We're just saying, like, to address certain issues that people have brought up after the fact. I think we needed the world's greatest detective moment where he turns the tables, and we needed more stakes in that action sequence. And then when it comes to the actual motivation, we've had different, opinions or ideas off of that. I think you had the follower thing. I think I've read some other ideas.
Would have been so much
well.
better.
Yeah, like I've read other ideas on it, but like basically you need some sort of motivation for that. I think in the $5 Patreon, I brought up the idea of like the new mayor, her family is actually connected to the orphanage, and so like she's the last target, and it's basically like, well, you won the being mayor, but my present to you is that you inherit nothing. You inherit nothing of the city because you have I'm flooding the city, and so there's nothing there and stuff. And Batman figures out as well. Here's something that could also show up is that Batman sees that the Real family was in charge of the orphanages and stuff, then knows that Riddler is going to try to assassinate her over there. He doesn't know yet about like how many followers are going to be there. He just knows that there's going to be an assassination attempt. And that distracts him from seeing the whole flood thing. You can still have like Martinez be like, this is a carpet tucker, and then they like undo the thing, and then they figure out that the flood's going to happen and stuff. But Batman is so concerned about stopping the assassination of the mayor and then confronting Riddler there that he's not able to stop the flood because he's just too busy doing other shit.
Oh, and Riddler should have been there too, right?
That's
that
the
was
other thing.
Another idea. Riddler.
Yeah.
This is something that I've taken umbrage with since I saw it the first time.
Yeah.
I just it's the final level, dude. You need the final boss there physically. I know he's there in spirit with his QAnon followers, but God, it's like Bane was in the middle of the fights. Not that Riddler's fighting, but like maybe he's surrounded by a bunch of his followers with fucking his Bob the Goon type characters like AK-47s. Like he's like this in this stronghold somewhere in that area, but like we said before in our other rewrites, he should have like gotten away as soon as those bombs were going off. Like when he's being arrested, maybe the bombs go off there, and then the cops are like, "What the fuck?" and get distracted by bombs going off in the city. Like, "Oh, you got lucky this time, Nigma," or whatever.
Yeah,
or Nashton, and fucking something along those lines. Then he escapes. Then he shows up again in the final act, right?
Yeah. And again, like if we're following. We're spitballing all these different ideas. If we're going off the idea that he hasn't even caught and stuff, that's even easier, right? Where
it's even easier.
He's there. We have the confrontation between Batman and Riddler that was in the interrogation room, but we have it, over the stadium and stuff. And Batman knows this is Edward Nashton and stuff, and he can even like do detective shit and be like, "I know who you are, Edward Nashton. You were born such and such, and all this type of stuff. I know what you're doing, and all those things."
Do you think that would be?
He thinks he's figured it out.
You think that would be as good that? If it's like in an open air like that in front of all of his henchmen, maybe that'll be kind of cool though, right? That'd be kind of.
I don't know if he sees the henchmen yet. Maybe the henchmen are revealed after the flood, especially when like the flood might be just the signal to start things, to start killing people and all that. Because they wait till after the flood in the movie anyway, because they want all the people there.
So he says, "You will inherit nothing, Batman." Fucking immediately,
And then remember also in the $5 Patreon we had the idea of like when Batman first sees all the Riddler followers, they're all chanting, "I'm vengeance, I'm vengeance, I'm vengeance."
We needed that too. I forgot about that. We needed that because that's like the ultimate, like that completes his arc. He sees. I mean, I think they accomplished this in the movie as is.
They do.
Where
they do.
he sees like he has to save people. He has to save Selina. That really hits home for him. I think that's kind of what it is. But if he sees these douchebags using his fucking line that was badass to us as an audience also in the beginning, flip that fucking shit on its head, then with the henchman saying it, God, dude, this is one of those moments where it pains me. Mattson Thompson. What's your fucking name? Tomlin. Please fucking do something like this.
They're all chanting, "I'm vengeance." He sees guns literally on families, on mothers and fathers and children. and he realizes he has to be something more, and he takes off in that fucking glider, and he starts kicking ass because he's here to save people. He's not vengeance.
Fuck yeah, dude.
He's a savior. Yes.
We've saved the script retroactively.
Retroactively, yes, jackasses on the internet who had no part in this movie. But yes.
Just take it, but also we've had like months to think about it. Like
that too. That too. Yeah.
Fucking like, I'm sure if we had gotten this script and from Peter Craig and Tomlin, our first read through would be like, well, that's pretty damn good, man. No notes. And then,
yeah, I know.
Like the first read through, but then you like sit with it for a bit.
Yeah, exactly. So like it's so easy for us to be in this position that we're in to do that. And it's easy for you guys in the comments to have that too. But I think it's still a worthy exercise, because then it's just like, well, could this have actually worked? Could they have had that? I think strengthening the world's greatest detective aspect, strengthening the motivation of the Flood, tightening up the third act as well, cuts down on the runtime. Even though like the movie's not even that much longer than The Dark Knight Rises, but because once you hit like 3 hours, that feels different versus saying it's 2 hours and 49 minutes. You know, like
it does.
It still hits differently when you tell people that. But you could have gotten a little close to Dark Knight Rises length by cutting certain things down, and then we kind of avoid Dark Knight, comparisons by not having that scene in the interrogation room, and then we have just sort of a stronger action sequence in the final thing. My last thing, and I know I've brought this up before in the $5 Patreon, is that this will be the last idea before we close. But I was thinking what would be cool is if we're completely rewriting earlier parts of the movie, when Batman crashes Penguin's car, Penguin's eye and his leg are fucked up.
Oh yeah, that would have been great. Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, look what you did to me," and stuff off the whole time. And the next time you see him, he's like, waddling. Like that, he is the waddle in the beginning of the movie, but like, what if Batman gives him the waddle and stuff, and then like at the end, he's got the full waddle. He's using that umbrella as a cane as he's stepping into the flood-soaked office of Falcone to take over, and he's got the monocle for that eye that got all fucked up.
And like,
got that's the Penguin evolution that they've been talking about. They're like, it's an evolution. Let's fucking see it. Let's have that happen.
And pain is worse in cold a lot of the time. So the colder he gets.
Every winter when it's cold, I think of the bat.
Yeah, you'll remember me.
So, anyway, let us know what you guys think on that. Again, it's very easy for us to sit here and be like, oh, this is what they should have done instead. It's very different compared to actually being on set and coming up with those ideas and tightening things up. And again, this is a movie that we both really enjoyed. I think it's one of the top Batman movies still, and no criticism people have brought up have really changed my mind about it, even though I think some of them are legit and others are just fucking made up. But
well, it's the internet.
That's the internet.
Full of a bunch of fucking jackasses that aren't
other
us.
jackasses, yeah.
Yeah.
So, on that note, that is superhero stuff you should know. Big thanks to our research assistant, Dan, for gathering the many visuals for this YouTube experience. He saved me a ton of time on this one, for real, on these. So thank you, Dan, for this. You pretty much gathered mostly everything on this for this one. Let's look at some of the comments. First is from Sparkageddon, our friend Sparkageddon318. What's up, superhero stuff? I love this deep dive on Billy D. Williams' Two-Face. Check out that episode if you haven't already. It would have been cool in the 90s if we did have a Black Two-Face and Black Robin. Tim Burton would have been the first to do swap heroes and villains to keep you race swap the heroes and villains, I think he means, to keep you all updated on my so Sparkageddon has been updating us on his fan fiction called Batman Shadows of New Orleans. It looks like it's a screenplay, and basically the cast is, what if everyone was black in there. So one night I was in my room smoking some kush, writing my screenplay. All the best ideas come that way.
Indeed, it's a Donner Chronic.
Dude. And Ben, you came
we
to
got
my
Superman
mind.
78 thanks to weed, dude. Let's not forget that. Donner's literally smoking a joint and is like, verisimilitude, baby.
Ben, you came to my mind to be in my universe, like Batman 89 reporter Alexander Knox. You are a New Orleans reporter. I've actually never been to New Orleans, funny enough.
I have when I was a kid. It's cool, dude. It's a really cool town.
It looks like I am a New Orleans reporter who's trying to learn the legends of Batman being real, and you team up with my female friend named Dion Paisley. where she's a mixture of Vicky Vale and Chase Meridian. The funny part about your character at first, Batman don't like you. Because he hates when you call him a cosplay character. I even added Andrew as an Easter egg at times. All right, well.
Thank you, man. That's awesome.
Maybe you can be another reporter too on that. We'll see.
Yeah,
on that. Depends on what your story is, Sparky.
Some dork in glasses shows up.
But we have evolved. We're evolving into the next stage where people are writing fan fiction about us. So
man, the time. This is my dream in life.
So thank you, Sparkageddon. Next comes from Slashman EXE. 2 comments actually on our deep dive into the Wayne murders. I'll read it from bottom to top. Actually, I remember Databanks saying Bruce watched the 20s Zorro in the Golden Age, later changed with the 40s Zorro to age him down, and then changed to an amalgamation to no longer associate it with a time frame. It sounded super believable, but I suppose one of the reasons for this topic was to debunk those myths. I just accepted it as fact without checking back in the comics. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the whole Batman saw Zorro as a kid when his parents were killed pretty much comes from Frank Miller in the 80s. As fitting as Nosferatu and The Man Who Laughs would be, keep in mind those were X-rated horror films that a child most definitely would not see in the 20s. That's a decent point. I'd have to look into like what kids would be allowed to see at that time. Zorro's still the best movie in my eyes because of how critical the character was behind the scenes. Robin Hood applies as well, but he has a deeper association with Robin, who is now just primarily known for the bird instead. Yeah, I would say so. Also, the Waynes definitely watched Footlight Frenzy in '89. I rewatched the scene, and they're holding the playbill for the show, which also confirms that they saw a musical and not a film, which also means they predated Nolan in making it more of a live stage show that they saw rather than a movie. It's nearly impossible to find info on the Footlight Frenzy movie, but it was a TV movie and thus never played in theaters, so Monarch Theater was a performance venue. Thank you,
wow,
Slashman, for that.
Hell of a deep dive on that part of it. Also, like being a theater thing, it kind of been more fitting with a rich family.
The rich family, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure on that. So, like, I can see that. Daniel Diaz says, here's my fan casting of Sam Hamm's Watchmen. Robin Williams as Rorschach. The man could have easily played scary and intimidating. Just see 1 hour photo and Goodwill.
You know what? God, that would have been so interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Dude, his best role to me is Goodwill Hunting, but he was in so many good movies.
The only issue I have with a recognizable face as Rorschach is that you can't really do the whole, like, oh, it was the homeless guy who was behind the mask type of thing. Even though it's already kind of obvious and stuff, like it's more obvious if you've got Robin Williams holding the end is nigh sign for like part of it, and you're just like, come on, I know that guy's, I know that's Rorschach.
Yeah, but for us,
could have found
in the movie, I mean, I don't know, that's not the worst choice.
They could have also just revealed it. They didn't have to make it a mystery. Like I'm not saying that this wouldn't work at all just because of that. I'm just saying like you would change it to be like you see the guy with the sign, he sees like the comedian's smiley face button, looks up, and then cut to the alley and he dons the mask, and you already know it's him.
Right.
Because like they're gonna know, like it's Robin Williams, everyone's gonna recognize him. So you might as well, and also then he wouldn't have to disguise his voice too much if he didn't want to.
Right. So
that's my solution if we were to cast a big star in that role.
Mm-hmm.
Craig T. Nelson as Night Owl can play the everyman. Plus he kind of looks like the character. Just give him some Clark Kent glasses. That's a good idea. Jamie Lee Curtis as Silk Spectre, because why not? Sure. Tom Atkins as the comedian, Night of the Creeps. This is interesting because the comedian probably would not have gone to a major actor, considering that they don't really do the flashbacks of the comedian in the movie, in the Sam Hamm script. So he would have just been in the opening, then get killed off. So you didn't really need like a major name. So somebody like Tom Atkins probably would have worked.
Right.
Arnold as Dr. Manhattan. He had the build, was a big enough name to have brought people into the cinema. Guys, please send us audio of Arnold doing the lines from Dr. Manhattan. This is something I need to hear in order to accept this idea.
I know, please, man. That's the audio clips. Superhousepodcast@gmail.com. Please email us an audio clip.
David Bowie as Adrian Veidt, suave and sophisticated. Yeah, like that's the role I thought Sam Hamm was going to tell us that he wanted in that. But also he could have done a song or two for the soundtrack.
Sick.
Probably, yeah. Bowie is actually not Bowie himself, but somebody who's supposed to be Bowie actually shows up in the opening of Snyder's Watchmen. I've been rewatching it recently, actually.
Oh, wow.
And he shows up in the same scene as Ozymandias first shows up. He's like in the background because it's like a shot of Ozymandias doing his photo shoot in front of Studio 54, and then you see like I think he's in his Ziggy Stardust phase, Bowie in the background.
That's cool.
So he's in there.
So
I don't know if that's a deliberate reference to Bowie wanting to be part of Watchmen, but he's in there.
Bowie's first song on his first album, he does mention Batman, and I think Batman comics even.
Mm-hmm.
Check it out. It's before Bowie started to be cool. It's like okay album, but yeah, first
Very
song,
British
first
sounding.
album. Yeah, it's just British, like that kind of early British pop, but not. I like the Beatles and stuff like that, but I don't know. Just check it out. It's cool. It's fine.
Yeah. Let's see. Moving further. Thank you, Daniel. On to the fan shoutouts.
Oh man, every time it catches me off guard, dude. So yeah, thank you everybody
Having
up
too
here.
much fun.
This is our $1 tier board here. Some newcomers include Kevin R, Derek O, Mark M, and Carter. Thank you everybody on there, and our other supporters as well, also on the board. And then we also want to thank. We also want to let you know about patreon.com/superherostuffpod. $1 tier gets you on the board there, the shout out, and the $5 tier gets you the whole other show. Brought up a few times already in this episode, but it's a whole other show every Friday. This show right now is free on YouTube every Monday, and then we have every Friday show for $5. Cancel anytime, binge it if you want, and yeah, then the $10 tier gets you the $1 and $5 tier benefits, plus a monthly meetup. Where we meet in a Zoom like call, and we shoot the shit with fans and have a topic at hand and discuss news, comic book movie news and things like that. And yeah, those are our tiers. And then we have our ever dwindling merch on Redbubble. This is funny every week, man. So SuperhousePod at Redbubble, superhousepod.redbubble.com, superherostuffpod.threadless.com. Ben Manzacula, Indeed Wizard mugs, shirt, shower curtains, and all the rest. Artwork by Steph in Santa Cruz. And then please send us that audio, like we just said, to superhousepodcast@gmail.com. Thunderwolf Drew on Instagram and Twitter is me. Thunderwolf Lives on YouTube is also me. And then Amano Recon. It's out, everybody. AMANORECON.com. We have the full 3-minute thing. Plus, meet the creators kind of thing after that. It's an Indiegogo campaign, and it's basically R-rated Power Rangers meets Stranger Things. Think of that kind of tone. And yeah, Indiegogo is like GoFundMe, but for art projects and for films and things like that. So we're doing a campaign now for 60 days. Actually started a week ago. And we are still trying to fund it. So if you have it in your heart in this last day of spooky season and the season of giving, please check it out. We should have the link in the description for our Indiegogo campaign. And yeah, you'll see a pitch video right there, see kind of where we're headed. And yeah, this poster is by Zachary Jackson Brown Art.com. And my last thing is I have Gaming Guide and another podcast I do, and we mainly interview in this. It's a seasonal one. It's going to be 10 episodes. Episode 3 dropped today, and it is mainly interviewing Japanese to English translators in the video game world. So check it out. That's it. Ben?
Nice. Shout out to Comic Capital on Instagram, as well as the Everything Entertainment Club on Clubhouse. You can follow us on social media on Twitter, SuperhousePod, Instagram, Superhero Stuff Pod, TikTok, Superhero Stuff Pod, Vero, Superhero Stuff Pod. My website is benwanrider.com, where you can read my Gotham script called Gotham Vampire, where young Bruce faces off against the Mad Monk, as well as my spec script for Elementary called The Death of Sherlock Holmes, a modern update on the classic story, The Adventure of the Dying Detective, and Curb Your Enthusiasm Disneyland, the Curb episode they could never make, where Larry David goes to Disneyland and hates it. My YouTube channel is in the description below, where you can check out Doctor Who, The Ronin of Time, which also features a Kurisagama sickle.
Oh, sweet.
So, as you brought up.
Nice,
so,
nice.
Basically, the 8th Doctor meets Miyamoto Musashi while he faces off against the guy who had that sickle. So,
Sick.
check that out if you haven't already. And my Instagram is Ben1 Ryder. My cat's Instagram is Alfie, at Alfie Pennyworth Cat on Instagram. And if you have an Alfie yourself or Peanut, who had a cameo in this, then you can get the Whisker Box, the only cat box with the crazy cat lady and gent. And that is something that we have a promo code or a link to somewhere.
We
I don't know
100% do. 100% somewhere.
And then if you have a dog instead of a cat, that's okay too, because you can get the Bark Box. The only dog box with a crazy dog lady and gent.
Indeed.
But yeah, you can get the basically our promo link, valued at $35, is the first month off free. And so you can use that, and that link is available at superherostuffpod.com/shop, where you can get all sorts of other shit. The Dark Knight Returns, a Keaton Batman Funko, the Boy Who Loved Batman book from one of our special guests, Michael Uslan, as well as the giant Batman 80th anniversary book with concept art from other movies, except for The Batman, of course, because that was released before the movie even came out. So check that out, superherostuffpod.com/shop. Back to Andrew.
Oh, man. So, we want you to do us a favor.
We want you to tell all your friends.